Well, hello friends. On today's video, I decided to talk about the general health and fitness, and in particular, the resistance training, the importance of resistance training, which translates into strength training, and its significance and how it contributes to overall healthy lifestyle up to and including very old age. I'm talking about not necessarily early 20 years old, 30, 40 years old, but 50, 60, 70 even and beyond. So there is. I also want to when I talk about those things, I want to definitely touch base those concepts or general misconceptions, general understandings, general behavioral types or beliefs in a society when it comes to activities, fitness, and or health related activities, and what a lot of people are actually misleading themselves. So I mentioned basically I started my recording with resistance training, which is weight training, strength training. That means resistance against pushing or pulling some weights. And I'm going to go ahead and compare this to a very widely held belief that cardio only training, cardio only workouts are enough and sufficient to keep a person healthy for as long as that person lives. Unfortunately, this is far, far from the truth. First off, the cardio only, regardless of the type of exercise, whether it's running, jogging, biking, walking, swimming, whatever, does not matter as long as it is a cardio type of exercise. Although it has definitely cardiovascular benefits and cardiovascular health, relying upon cardiovascular workouts only bears no value almost in the long run if you look at this as a lifelong type of activity, which is fitness activity. I want to make some analogy. Imagine from the investment perspective, financial investment perspective, a person is thinking about starting retirement savings at the age 30 versus somebody who's at the age 60. The person who started earlier is in much better shape, obviously, than the person who started a lot later, decades later. With this same approach, investing in one's health for the especially old age. I mean, when I say old age, I mean nursing house type of age, if we're talking about. Then investing in muscular development, muscular strength building plays extremely critical and significant role. This you can find all around if you analyze, if you research the literature on this subject matter, from kinesiology, from muscle science, from overall cardiovascular and muscular health, mobility, flexibility, all those things combined. If you do your own research to be able to appreciate and understand and comprehend why resistance training, meaning pushing and pulling weights or doing some kind of weight bearing exercise has enormously more benefits than doing cardio alone. The reason lifting weights and resistance type of exercises has or offers those benefits is simply because as we age, starting from the age 30, every passing year we're losing 1 to 2% of our muscular strength. And when we get to be about 70 years old, on the average again, 50% of our strength, muscular strength, deteriorates and disappears. Is this situation hopeless? I mean, is there anything we can do about this? Absolutely, yes, there is something that we can do about it. Obviously, we're not talking about staying young forever and keeping your top shape forever. That's not what we're talking about, obviously. I mean, I'm not that naive to bring this subject, right? We're not talking about miracle. But what we're talking about here is it is absolutely possible to reduce the rate of loss, the muscle mass loss and the strength loss per year or over decade. Because you're going to have a visible difference every passing decade that you actually witness yourself. Sometimes if you kind of consciously test yourself, or maybe if you're sometimes getting involved in some activities and realize that damn, 10 years ago or 15 years ago, I was doing this with ease, and now I'm having a lot of joint pain, I'm having a lot of muscle pain, or I simply can't do it. That's because that 1 to 2% every year, every passing year, we're losing our muscle mass and strength. On the other hand, there are examples, numerous examples that can be given that those who stay active, when I'm saying active, I am using the term active within the confines of the context here, and the context is resistance training. Those who are active all their lifetime, starting early on and staying on it up to 60, 70, even 80 years old. Their loss is significantly less. I mean, significantly, visibly less than those who never get involved in any of those kind of activities. The difference is so stark that it's almost like night and day. Imagine those folks who are 80 years old or 80 plus. Maybe they're in the nursing home. They lost their mobility. They lost their flexibility. Their joints are in horrible shape. Maybe they're in a wheelchair. Not because they're really disabled in a sense that they're disabled, but their muscles are so weak that they cannot actually bear their own body weight. They cannot walk the stairs. They cannot lift the lightest things, even a tiny little box off the floor. They cannot carry any grocery sacks. They cannot those kinds of daily activities I'm talking about. I'm not even talking about any kind of fancy workout stuff in the gym or what kind of fancy machines and equipment. This is ridiculous because this is preventable. This is absolutely preventable. I know, unfortunately, American society is very still kind of sedentary lifestyle, leading a sedentary lifestyle. And no matter how many commercial gyms are out there, all the high schools and colleges offering those facilities, workout and gyms, equipment, all that, it's to me always a fascinating, sad fact that this society, American society in the world, is probably the most obese society. That's one problem. But I'm not talking about fat and obesity. I'm not talking about that. I'm talking about the mindset that comes along with that, and then stays with people, sedentary lifestyle, not getting into a routine of exercising, and that exercising is not necessarily mean just walking, but having a carefully designed resistance training program, and they stay on for years and decades with the goal of reducing their annual muscle mass and muscle strength loss. So, if you look at all those folks who are suffering some form of mobility limitations, severe up to severe limitations, they're quite weak. Their grip strength is extremely weak. They cannot even open a jar. That's simple. Not necessarily a very kind of tough to open jar, but pretty much anything. Anything with little cup on it, little lid on it, or they cannot pick up any box off the floor. Things like that. If you look at them, none of them actually invested their younger years to build up some base, some platform, some overall muscular base that they can build upon. And at least the older ages, they keep doing it to maintain, even try to still add some mass and strength, or at least reduce the rate of loss and maintain what they have. So when they get to be, let's say, 70, 75 years old, actually they have the equivalent strength of 45 years old of a person at that age, kind of compatible levels. The goal here is not necessarily joining the competitions, physique competitions, bodybuilding, powerlifting competitions, weightlifting, or Ironman, or any other type of activities in competitive activities. We're not talking about that. The biggest, the most important competition here is a person is understanding the value of it, 2, having a program designed for these goals, 3, start doing it, 4, sticking to it for the rest of his or her life. So with that, the completely destructive impact of aging on the muscle tissue overall can be managed and can be reduced. And that means this person who invested over decades his or her health, from this perspective, from the strength perspective, he or she will be enjoying a lot more quality for as long as he or she can live. We're not talking about necessarily extending the life. We're not talking about necessarily, achieving incredible, amazing feats. That's not what we're talking about. The only concept that I'm referring to here is whatever the time frame you have on this earth, to be able to live this life healthy as much as possible. And healthy is a very round, nice, flexible word. So I want to focus on that. If you don't have mobility, you're not healthy. If you don't have any strength, if you're extremely weak, you're not healthy, you're not fit. You can, in your youth, maybe you are a marathon runner and you look like somebody starving out of a starving place in Africa. And at the older age, that marathon activities will contribute next to nothing. I repeat, cardio only. And the epitome of cardio only is, I believe, is some kind of marathon type of activity, will contribute nothing when you get to be 75, 85, even 90 years old. The only and best contribution that you can make to yourself from the perspective of enjoying the life in a healthier manner for however long you live, no one knows, right? You can die or whatever, 60, 70, 80, 90. That's not the point. The point is, let's say you're going to live up to 90 years old. Yeah, you can, maybe you can, but you know what? The last 20 years, especially the last 10, 15 years of it, you cannot live even independently. Because somebody has to take care of you, because somebody has to help you, because you cannot even get out of your chair. And the reason why you cannot even get out of your chair is because you don't have enough muscle strength. And it's not natural. I mean, people are going to say he's an old man or she's an old lady, and that's why, she needs help. Well, yes, but it could have been prevented. It definitely could have been prevented, and it could be prevented. And if it's not happening, it's not that person cannot even bear his own or her own body weight, is because that person never invested in his or her younger years any kind of resistance training. Today, in the medical community, resistance training, meaning weight training, proven time and time again. Its contribution to overall health and mobility and strength is beyond comparison to anything that is cardio only. Cardiovascular training apparently is significant for those sports that are cardiovascularly intensive, such as soccer. Any athlete needs that cardiovascular capacity. That's different. Any activity, any occupation, anything that requires that, such as in the military service, it's one of the fitness tests. Yes, that makes sense in that environment. And cardio exercises can still be mixed and combined with resistance exercises, with more emphasis that absolutely indefinitely given to resistance exercises, can pay off a lot more dividends than doing cardio alone. When you look at a person, let's say, who has been lifting weights from the early ages, such as, let's say, 20. That person, let's say, example, he started at the age 20, lifting weights. And then he stayed with this routine. He's not necessarily a bodybuilder. He's not necessarily a weightlifter or powerlifter. He's not necessarily a competitor. He's not necessarily having any medals or any whatever, achieving any feats in these sports. He's an enthusiast, and he's doing this for health-related reasons. That person, when he gets to be 80 years old, if he invested his time, those 60 years of his lifetime, doing lifting type of exercises routinely, obviously there might be weeks, there might be months sometimes that, life can throw a lot of stuff at us. You don't have time, this, that, or whatever. That's not important. If you look at the long term, if in the long run, if you are serious, even though sometimes you get to sidetrack, which every one of us does, eventually you're going to get back to it. If it's in your mind, eventually you're going to get back to it. Because, life that is, hey, you get sick, maybe you get accidents, maybe sometimes, your work situation, your job is making it hard. Yes, but at least you can reduce it, and then you can get back to it again. You can reduce it to minimal degrees, you can get back to it again. Again, the goal is never here to emphasize on some kind of a crazy, batshit crazy workout routines to achieve amazing feats in bodybuilding or powerlifting or any other competitive sports. The goal is the context that we're talking about here is nothing but overall health, especially old decades, old ages, old years. Beyond 60, beyond 70, even 80. So that is the reason why, like I said, is I wanted to talk about that, is that people, the words, the phrases that people are using indicate that still generally people are using wrong words. Therefore, their track of thinking is in the wrong direction. Because those words kind of define what you think and how you behave. So, let's see. A woman is saying, I want to lose weight, or a man, for that matter, doesn't matter, because I think I'm fat. He is saying, or she is saying. They don't understand even the fact that you can lose weight, or you can even gain weight and be a lot more healthier, in a much better shape, visibly. Your body has actually a lot less fat percentage at a higher weight. How is that possible? That's called bodybuilding. But, bodybuilding term itself is kind of, I'm trying to be careful to use that because, it's almost, depending on the context and environment, you got to be careful using that because of the stigma sometimes it has in a society. Unfortunately, it created that kind of stigma because of all the ugly steroids and performance-enhancing drugs and pharmacology applied toward, namely, steroids. Obviously, that's not what we're talking about. Obviously, I'm against any of those with passion. With passion. Any young kid, should, any young kid who are now hitting the gym, and they have no patience and no understanding of no nuances and anything that they're trying to do. They're just going through motions and going to TikTok and trying to watching others or Instagram, others videos, short videos, and thinking, hey, what's the shortcut? Steroids, right? And I'm gonna go ahead and hit that and be like that. And so many of them are actually having severe consequences, health consequences. There's no need. This is not about those kinds of things, and I'm not going to even touch base them. But obviously, we're not even talking about those things. I'm talking about a person like myself. I'm 61 years old. I started lifting weights at the age 14, and at this age, current age, my workout routine is I work out pretty much every day, and I go to gym or I use my own home gym equipment, and some kind of combination of it. And my goals are specific. What I believe is for myself, I try to hit a certain number of what they call a high volume workout in bodybuilding, and using the high volume bodybuilding, high volume training principles. And there's so many sets and so many reps total, distributed to large and small muscle groups. And every week I track my workouts just so I can track my activities and to see to myself that hey, if I'm really giving enough and sufficient exercises, sets and reps and weights per muscle group. So my primary goal at this age is different than what my primary goal was when I was 20, 25 or 30 years old. Those years, my primary goal was actual bodybuilding. I was trying to increase my muscle mass and muscle strength levels. And obviously, at certain age, you kind of go up, and then you kind of plateau, and then you go like that, and then you gradually go, you're going slowing down, going down a little bit. At this age, this is a downward cycle. So downward cycle is like I described, to begin with. The aging is, it's impossible to argue against nature, right? When you age, you're going to be losing some strength and muscle size. But it is absolutely preventable, and at least more, I guess the better terminology is it is possible to reduce the amount of loss, the speed of loss in muscle mass and strength. And that's what I'm trying to do, at least, if not getting better, or if not increasing my muscle strength and muscle size, I am trying to maintain what I already have. I already lost, I know that, but that's fine, that's expected, and I'm trying to maintain as much as I can. I know that next decade it's going to be less, But again, that is if I can prove myself that I can actually slow down the rate of loss, I consider myself I'm achieving what I want to achieve. So the goal setting is entirely different than what it was when I was 25, 30, even 35 years old. I'll give you a few examples. At the age 61, I can still do dips with weights on my waist up to 55 pounds or 75 pounds hanging on my waist, and I can still do dips, like 10 dips. I'm about 250 pounds. That makes about 320 pounds, and I can still do dips. I can still do incline bench presses with 225 pounds. I can still do squats with 400 to 450 pounds. I can still do deadlifts with 400, about 375, sometimes pushing towards 400 pounds, but not, that's kind of rare. So I'm, at the most, I'm staying around 350 pound to 380 pound range. I am obviously trying to be equally careful. The goal is this. Again, maintain the strength level, maintain the muscle mass. In the meantime, be aware that eventually there's going to be some loss, but hopefully a lot less than what it would have been otherwise if I wasn't doing anything. Believe me, if I wasn't doing anything at this age, I'd be in already way more miserable state. So do not see this age factor as absolute limitation when it comes to these kinds of goal settings. You can definitely achieve those things. When I do, for instance, shoulder dumbbell exercises, I can still use 80 pounders, 75 pounders. Now that's a heck of a weight. That's a heck of a weight, especially for a guy at my age. I mean, if you are into this, take my numbers and find someone else my age, compare my age. You're going to become kind of more or less totally convinced. And you'll understand what I'm trying to say. It is because I am religiously trying to stick to this routine. Believe me, there's all kinds of reasons that I can find to skip a workout day. I can find a ton of reasons to skip a workout week, even month. Life brings a lot of things. But I make that time every day 1 hour. 45 minutes to 1 hour. I don't exceed 1 hour. I never do 2 hours. In my youth, I was doing 3 hours a day. And I never do even hit hour and a half, 45 minutes to 1 hour. Every day, at least 6 days a week, given the kind of program I designed myself, is such that if I can hit my numbers, those are the set and rep combinations and total poundage lift that I lift. If I hit those numbers, I can take a day off. I'll be done with 6 days. The way I'm using weights, it is impossible to apply full body workout. Some you can find those discussions that full body workout 3 days a week. Yes, it is a good program for beginners, but believe me, I way exceeded within my first 5 years of workouts, and then I had to split the programs so I can hit. For instance, when I work out, typically right now even typically I work out at the most 2 muscle groups. It could be a combination of large muscle group and small muscle group. There are a total of 8 muscle groups, excluding the abdominals. It's because midsection has a kind of different way of looking at it. 8 muscle groups, 4 large muscle groups. Those are what? Chest and back and quadriceps and hamstrings. Those are the 4 large muscle groups. What are the 4 small muscle groups? Those are the biceps and triceps and shoulders and calves. So total 8 muscle groups. So my total workout routine, the total overall weights, total overall number of sets and reps and whatever the exercise selections that I made, and I have a total of, I think now, I don't know, 100, up to 150 different top exercises on my list, and I pick and choose from those exercises, and then distribute those muscle groups within those, set, rep, and weight combinations. And I do find my weight combinations, first off, I'm looking at, like I said, I'm trying to find minimum of 720 or anywhere between that number, 720 reps altogether for all those 8 muscle groups, distributed each of those muscle groups, right? And give and take, there are different number of total reps and sets for different muscle groups, but total comes to, let's say, 720 reps. Okay, so now, good, I have 720, even more, 820, maybe 1,000 reps that week. And I did so many sets to do those things. And by the way, it doesn't matter. I can do it in one day. I can split into 2 days a week. I can split in 3 days a week. What matters is to give those enough number of sets and reps. Okay, but the other question is, I can do, let's say I'm going to do bench press and a total of 120 reps that week for all chest, combination of all chest exercises. That is bench press, incline bench press, decline bench press, maybe dumbbell flies or pec decks or whatever. All together, I got to do 120 reps. Well, I can do 120 reps with tiny little weights. What good it does? Nothing. It doesn't do anything. That's total absolute waste of time. So then you got to find the balance between the number of sets and reps and weights. So what is a good range of weights that I should be using? My preference is I kind of know my 1 rep maximum. I kind of know it, right? And then typical rule of thumb is 80 to 90% of that 1 rep maximum is heavy, which allows me to do 4 to 6 reps. And 70 to 80% of the 1 rep maximum is moderate or medium weight, heavy. That allows me to do maybe 8 to 10 reps. And then anywhere between 50 to 60 or 70%, that is light. That would allow me to do 12 to 15 reps, depending on the exercise, depending on what I choose to do. One other important thing. There are 2 basic fundamental type of differentiation between exercise modes. One, compound exercises. The other one is single joint exercises. Again, compound exercises and single joint exercises. Compound exercises are the fundamental exercises, meaning they're also called multi-joint exercises versus single joint. Meaning compound exercises are such things like bench press, squats, deadlifts, pull-ups, dips. All those are compound exercises because they hit multiple major muscle groups. Deadlift is enormous exercise. When you are doing deadlift, a lot of muscle groups are working. Your entire back muscles, down here all the way to hamstrings, everything. Your abdominals are getting hit. Or bench press, or when you're doing squats, a lot of muscles are getting involved. A lot of muscles. So when you're doing those exercises, that's why there are also large groups of exercises. That's why the number of reps must go up to 120 per muscle group. And I'm trying to basically kind of hit my numbers like that. And again, my weight distribution, I typically, all my lifetime, I worked out on the heavy side. Heavy meaning, again, like I described before. It allows me, 80 to 90% allows me to do only 4 to 6 reps. But when you're doing, for instance, let's say side laterals, single joint exercise, flies, single joint exercise, You can use lighter weights, and in fact, they kind of require almost to use lighter weights to have better control on the movement, because otherwise you're applying, you're kind of losing your form, right form, and you lose your right form, you're actually hitting other muscle groups that you don't intend to work out when you're doing those things. For instance, when you're doing, say, chest dumbbell laterals for chest, if you use too much weight, you're trying to compensate, overcompensate, and what happens is instead of working at your chest, you're using front shoulders, or you're using your biceps more than chest. You're not hitting the chest really properly. But that's a technicality between lightweight. I'm saying those things because you might wonder, what is the definition of light, moderate, and heavyweight? Those are important things that are very fluid, depending on the person, depending on the purpose, depending on the cause, depending on the goal. All those things play into that. The definition, all those things play a big role in defining and finding and coming up with the program, the proper program. So I kind of wanted to give my numbers and a little bit of myself in the background from this perspective, given my age particularly. Again, at the age 61, I can give you more numbers, and I can believe me, go ahead and I can challenge you and find somebody my age and compare with me. If you can do that, I have a reason to believe I'm going to make a lot more sense to you. So what I'm saying is, if you want to invest in your health, if it is important to you, and if you want mobility, independence, healthy, independent living with confidence, self-confidence, self-reliability, and self-respect in your old age, without depending on someone else to basically help you to get off your chair and take you to the bathroom and make you sit on the shitter and move you out of the shitter. You got to stay strong. To stay strong, you got to lift weights. You got to get in the habit of doing that. You got to push yourself in that direction consciously. Because a lot of times, you're going to want not to do it. You're going to want to skip. Just like millions and millions of people every year coming with New Year resolutions. One of the dumbest phrases that I think I hear is New Year's resolutions. Only to be forgotten within less than a month. Maybe within less than a couple of weeks even. I personally, ladies and gentlemen, I never had New Year's resolutions. And I will never have New Year's resolutions. I'm not that dumb. It is dumb and stupid thing. If you've been doing this, I'm sorry. I'm calling you dumb and stupid as well, I guess. So stop doing it. If you want to be healthy in the way that I described, you got to invest yourself. You got to invest your time, your energy, your efforts, and everything into this. And this is not particularly extremely expensive activity. You can be part of a gym. You can go there, make an effort to go there at least 3 days a week. And then, if you want, obviously, you can have one-on-one training. You can watch and try to educate yourself on YouTube. Read a lot of published articles if you want to be a little more fancy in academic direction. I mean, there's lots of academic research explaining what I'm trying to talk about here. And try to apply yourself when you're in the gym. And don't be one of those guys that I see every time and anytime I go to gym. Those kids sitting on the bench, sitting on some machine with their smartphone, not doing anything. So many times I told them, I'm sorry, if you're not using this, can you move so I can use it? The only reason I use my smartphone in the gym is before I start my workout, I put my music on, I put my earbuds, and I put it in my bag, and I don't even look at it again. If you're serious about workout, do your workout. Do not engage in social conversations. Do not constantly look at your phone. Do not talk on the phone. Do not text. Exercise. People that you're seeing sometimes sitting on the stationary bike and reading. If you can read, that means you're so comfortable on that stationary bike. That means you're not exercising. You're sitting on the recumbent bike. And you can listen to music is one thing. I'm doing that, but you cannot read. I'm seeing people trying to read something because they can pay attention to what they're reading. Tells me they are not really pushing themselves. That means they're not really working out. It is similar to, let's say I'm telling you got to do bench press today for your chest, and let's say you got to do 3 sets, 10 reps, and then you're doing that. Yes, you're doing that, but you're doing it with 50 pounds. You can easily do it with maybe 90 pounds. Or you've been doing that leg press, on the hip sled, the leg press sled. You sit and you push the weight up with your legs, right? And let's say you've been doing this even long enough time, maybe several years, and you're putting a total of a couple hundred pounds, and you can easily do it. Maybe you can do it 15 times. And you keep doing this 15 times. Every time you go there, you never even add a weight. You know what's happening? You're in your comfort zone, and your muscles, your leg muscles, are not getting enough stimulation to grow. So what you're doing is basically nothing but ridiculously silly waste of time. The only purpose of lifting weights is to stimulate your muscular growth. And the only stimulation comes in once you push your muscle level and muscle strength out of your comfort zone. So the moment you think you found your comfort zone, that means you can do, for instance, you started with some weight, let's say X amount of weight, on, let's say, bench press, and you can only do 4 reps. In a couple months, 3 months, 4 months down the road, maybe now you can do 8 to 10 reps. What happened now? Your strength went up. What do you have to do? You got to increase the weight. Because if you stay at that weight helped you. It helped you. It served its purpose. It helped you to improve your overall strength. Your pectoralis major and minor, chest muscles, you increase their strength level. But now you got to improve the weight. You got to increase the weight to improve your overall strength again on the chest muscles. So you don't stay always on your comfort zone. There is something called plateau. You hit the plateau. Everybody does that. Impossible not to do it. You're going to hit some plateau. Then what you have to do is, it's some kind of a muscles get stalled. Then stop doing that. Do something else. You got to shock the muscle. You have to surprise the muscle with totally unexpected different type of exercises the muscle is not accustomed to. There is a neuromuscular component built into this process. That's how you do it. We can get into all kinds of details, and I have other videos, and I will put more. But again, my focal point of this video is the significance of using weights, the strength training, the resistance training, weight lifting, to be able to maintain long and healthy lifestyle. That is only possible and only possible with maintaining sufficient muscle tissue level and muscle strength level. And if you don't pay attention to that, as muscle tissue level goes down, your strength level will go down. And at the old age, you'll be in a shape that you absolutely, believe me, don't want to be. I just described somebody like that. And again, cardio only. And there is so much emphasis on that, unfortunately. Cardio only training is absolutely big no-no and does not contribute to long-term health in the way that I try to describe and define. Cardio only is not the answer. Cardio only is not going to help you in the long run. Cardio only cannot ever build overall muscular mass level and strength level. You can always maintain some percentage of cardio as part of your total workout routine. Bigger emphasis still should be on muscle mass and strength. So, like I said, this is what I was going to tell you. I honestly wanted to share this with you all. And, I'm encouraging you, every one of you, just go ahead and read. Either find related videos, find related articles, find medical research articles from medical journals on this matter. And if you have a common sense, if you are more or less an educated person, if you believe in the value of science and research, if you do believe in all those things, you will be fully convinced that cardio only is not the guarantee of long-term longevity kind of health. People are going to say it's better than nothing. Isn't that dumb and stupid? Of course it's better than nothing. If you walk 10,000 steps a day, which makes about 5 miles a day, is it good for you? Absolutely. No one can argue against that. It's good for you. Of course it's good for you. Is it sufficient for the goals, the specific goals that I've been talking about? Absolutely nothing. Walking is a very healthy activity. Yes, absolutely. But walking alone doesn't do anything. If you want to really challenge yourself in cardio kind of exercises, instead of doing this long and kind of a light walk, try 10 sets of 10-second sprints and walk in between. That gives you a lot of boost. First, it's going to be torture. But you can see what I mean. But in the long run, if you try this long enough, it's kind of like weight training. You do in sets, 10, 20 sets of 10 seconds of sprints in between walks. You spend 1 or 2 hours like that, maybe a couple times a week. 6 months down the road, you're going to see a difference and you'll be amazed. So, that's another example. If you're insisting on cardio. But again, if you can combine cardio, and in fact, I want to tell you something. I remember this kind of funny response, and the doctor is asking the guy, what do you do for exercise? The guy says, I lift weights. And then doctor says, okay, good. So what do you do for cardio? And the guy says, I lift lighter weights. So that's not the answer the doctor was expecting, I know. And the thing is this guy, this kind of little setup is trying to explain something. You can do you can get cardio benefits. You can get cardio benefits using weights still. How? Reduce the weights, less than 50% of 1 rep maximum, less than 50%. That means, now those weights can allow you to do even 30 reps per set. And do that. Now you're going to start getting cardio effect. Okay? You can actually burn fat by doing that. In fact, there is a lot of, I'm going to have a different video on that, fat burning. There's a lot of stupid beliefs about burning fat, such as those stupid diets. None of them work. And people never stick to them because they understand after the first month, they don't do anything. The most accepted, surefire way of losing fat is lifting weights and larger muscle mass. So the bigger muscle mass burns more fat even when you're sleeping. And then calculating your amount of calories that you're taking in and also you're spending. Not exceeding how much you're spending much. Plus lifting weights. Maybe moderate weights. Fine. That is a way to reduce your fat level without necessarily losing your muscle mass. But if for the sake of seeing the lower number on the scale, if you starve yourself, number one thing, you're going to lose your muscle mass, which is extremely unhealthy. And two, you're not going to be able to starve yourself for the rest of your life, meaning next month or two, those weights will come back. So that's not the way. That's not the solution. You can try it. Millions of people try it, and every single one of them fail, and they get discouraged, and they stop doing that. So anyway, that's where I'm gonna stop now. I appreciate your time there to listen to me. I will come up with other similar videos in this area. Thank you very much.